Hello, I am Dr. Saumya Bera of the Institute of Technology, and I belong to School of Applied Sciences and Humanities. Today's topic of lecture is Precis Writing and Expansion Writing. Straight away, let us dive into the topic. Now, let us understand where the word Precis has come from. Precis comes from a French word called Precis, almost with the similar spelling, just on an indent on E, and is literally translated as precise, clear, up to the point. That is, writing something in brief, briefing a passage, briefing a story, briefing an article. That is called a précis. But there are different techniques to be adopted before writing a précis. A précis can be called a summary, and précis writing means summarizing or shortening. Précis writing is an exercise in compression or condensation. A précis is the gist of main theme of a passage expressed in as few words as possible. It should be lucid, succinct, and complete in itself, so that anyone on reading it may be able to grasp the main points and the general idea of the passage. Now, précis writing must not be confused with paraphrasing. A paraphrase should reproduce not only the substance of a passage, but also all the details. It will therefore be at least as long as, and probably longer than, the original passage. But a précis must always be much shorter than the original, for it is meant to express only the main theme, the crux and the gist of the passage, devoid of all the unimportant details. As the styles of writers differ, some being concise and some diffuse, no rigid rule can be laid down or applied for the length of a précis. But so much may be said that a précis should not contain more than a third of the number of words in the passage. I'm repeating, it should not be more than a third of the number of words in the passage. Now, précis writing, let us understand what is the importance of précis writing, what is the use of it. Précis writing is a very fine exercise in reading. Most people read carelessly and retain only a vague idea of what they have read. You can easily test the value of your reading. Read in your usual way any chapter, or for that matter, a page from a book, and then, having closed the book, try to put down briefly the substance of what you have just read. You'll probably find that you have forgotten most of the important details of the passage, or whatever memory you have of the passage that is very hazy and muddled. Is this because your memory is weak? No. It is because your attention was not fully centered on the passage while you were reading it. The memory cannot retain what was never given it to hold. You did not remember the passage properly because you did not properly grasp it while you were reading it. Now, précis writing forces you to pay attention to what you read, for no one can write a summary of anything, any passage, unless he has clearly understood the meaning or the purpose of the passage. So, précis writing is an excellent training in concentration of attention. It teaches one to read with the mind as well as with the eye on the page. Précis writing is also a very good exercise in writing, in composition. It teaches one how to express one's thoughts clearly concisely, and effectively. It is a splendid corrective of the common tendency to vague and disorderly thinking and loose and diffuse writing. So, practice in precis writing is of great value for practical life. Now, let us understand the difference between precis writing and summary writing. Summary is just a brief statement that covers the main points of a text, but precis writing is a thematic representation of the given passage. It will have a title, summary will never have a title. You can use examples in a summary, but no such examples can be written in a precis. Precis will be 1/3 of the passage, but summary can be half the passage. Now let us go to the next slide to understand what are the steps for writing a precis. Since we have discussed that precis writing is an excellent exercise in reading and writing, so let's see how it can help. How before writing a precis, how one should read, and then how one should reproduce the condensed passage. So the first step is reading. So first read the passage carefully, but not too slowly to get a general idea of its meaning. If one reading is not sufficient, read again and again. This first step is called skimming the passage. And this is done to get a general idea about the meaning and purpose of the passage. This kind of reading will enable you to understand the subject and what is said about the subject. You can ask yourself, what is it I am reading? What does the author mean? What is his subject? What is he saying about it? Can I put in a few words the pith of what he says? Once this part is over, grasping the general idea of the passage, then you have to think of a title, because a precis will always have a short and crisp title. And this is a good stage to do this. Think of some words, some phrases or short sentences that will sum up briefly the main subject of the passage. Sometimes this is also supplied by what we may call a key sentence or a thesis statement. That can be called the hypothesis around which the entire passage is built. The next stage is further reading. And further reading is now necessary to ensure that you understand the details of the passage as well as its main purpose. Now, take it now sentence by sentence and word by word. If the meanings of any word is unknown to you, go to your dictionary. Understand the meaning of the word. Such detailed study is of utmost importance because every word, every phrase, every sentence is important. Because the next part of reading is identifying the essential parts of the passage. And if you have not read in detail, then you cannot identify the essential parts of the passage. Now, this detailed reading is called scanning the passage. So the surface reading was skimming the passage, and detailed reading is scanning the passage. Now, you should now be in a position to decide which parts are essential and which are not, and what parts are comparatively more important than the other parts. This process of selection is not so easy as some people think. Beginners select, but they often select in a haphazard or in a mechanical way. And it requires some practice to be able to say that this is essential to the meaning of the passage and that is not so essential. For this, you need to properly understand and learn how to write a precis. Let us go to the next slide to understand what are the steps for writing a precis. The first is counting the number of words. Now, you should now be ready to attempt the writing of the precis, but be sure of the limits within which it must be compressed. If the number of words is given to you, your job becomes easier. But if you're told to reduce the passage, to say a third of its length, then count the number of words divided by 3. You may use fewer words than the number prescribed, but in no case may you exceed the limit. And it is not likely that your first attempt will be a successful one. You may have to write several drafts before finalizing one. And a good deal of patience and revision will be required before you get it right. So count the number of words, write your first draft, revise it, count the number of words again, and then write your final draft. But you should keep in your mind that your final draft should be complete in itself, and everything should be written in your own words. It must not be a patchwork made up of phrases and sentences quoted from the passage. Then in condensing or compressing, you need to aim rather at remodeling than at mere omission. We may omit mere repetitions, illustrations, and examples, but we change figures of speech into literal expressions, compress wordy sentences, and alter phrases to words. And then, as a rule, a précis should be written in indirect speech, because no direct narration or quotation can be used in a précis. Then revise it and proofread the final draft, means look for grammatical, syntactical, and spelling mistakes and correct them before finalizing your draft. So I'll be summarizing Precis writing. So first, you need to carefully read the passage, if necessary, several times. Apprehend clearly its main theme or general meaning. Then examine the passage in detail to make sure the meaning of each sentence, phrase, and word. Then supply a suitable title. Then select and note down the essential points which will be necessary for you while writing the Precis. Note the length of number of words prescribed for the Precis and write out the first draft. In doing so, remember that you are to express the gist of the passage in your own words and not in quotations from the passage. That you should condense by remodeling than by mere omission, and that your Precis must be self-contained and a connected whole, and add nothing, make no comment, correct no facts. Then revise your draft, compare it carefully with the original to see that you have included all the important points. If it is too long, still further compress it by omitting unnecessary words and phrases or by remodeling sentences. Correct all mistakes in spelling, grammar, and idiom, and see that is properly punctuated. Let the language be very, very simple and direct. Write out neatly the fair copy under the heading you have selected or under the title that you have selected. So we are done with Precis writing. Now we will enter expansion writing. Expansion writing is just the opposite of Precis writing. In Precis writing, we are given a passage and we compress it and condense it. But in case of expansion writing, we will get a proverb and we will have to elaborate or expand the proverb. That is, we have to explain and elucidate the proverb. So let us go to the now steps for writing an expansion. We'll understand it through an example. Now, we all know that every proverb is symbolic in nature. Name of any person, name of any place, name of any animal, name of anything, even the name of a color, symbolizes something in a proverb. So the first step of expansion writing is understanding the symbol of the words in the proverb. Let us take an example. Say, for example, a very famous and common um, proverb is Rome was not built in a day. So here we get a name called Rome. Now, what is the symbol that Rome is symbolizing? What is the symbol that Rome is representing? We all know, we have all read in history that Rome was a great empire once in a once upon a time. So a great empire means it's an example of success. But to make that empire great, it did not happen overnight. It took a lot of time. So we can say that Rome is the symbol of success. So now that we have understood the symbol of the proverb, now we come to the second stage or second step, that is substituting the meaning in the idea of the proverb. So we have, if we have to rewrite the proverb, we have to write it that success cannot be achieved in a day, or success cannot be achieved overnight. The third step is looking for a story or anecdote or example or illustration to substantiate the meaning that you have found out from the proverb. The best thing is to take examples from real life. You can take example of uh, APJ Abdul Kalam. You can take example of Sachin Tendulkar. You can take example of Tenzing Norgay to substantiate or to elaborate on the idea that there is no shortcut to success. Only hard work, patience, dedication, discipline, and even for that matter, devotion can lead you to success. And the next step is you have to look for similar proverbs or ideas to support your idea. So similar proverb can be patience, perseverance, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. So Rome was not built in a day, or success cannot be achieved in a day, can be replaced by this proverb. Patience, perseverance, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success, very aptly. And it also supports my understanding or your understanding of the proverb. And finally, in the final step, with words like therefore, hence, so, you summarize or you conclude your expansion by once again declaring the fundamental idea that has come out from the proverb. That is it. Thank you.